Hello and welcome to another 2004-2005 PC capsule video. This time playing the Chronicles of Riddick Escape from Butcher Bay, a seminal 2004 release from Starbreeze Studios. And to talk about this pretty awesome game today, I'm joined by my friend and colleague, John Linneman. Happy New Year, John.
Thanks, Alex. This is my first video coming back, I guess, to work, you could say. But yeah, so thanks for having me, because I do enjoy this game a lot as well. It was really impressive for its day, and I still think it holds up pretty well.
Oh my goodness, it also just froze. So it holds up really well. I would also agree with that. Today, if you notice, I'm not using the mouse, but I'm using a controller, and I'll talk about why I'm doing that in a second.
Yeah.
But
can we also talk about this menu real quick? Because, like, this is...
I love it. Like, look at this thing.
So ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's just...
it's so smooth.
And it's still fast, so it's not a problem, but it's I love it. Just this... you can really tell these guys came from, like, the demo scene and all that.
Let's put that up to high.
There's just a lot of fancy things. Like, if you bring down the console as well, like, look at that.
Yeah, look at that.
That's so ridiculous, but I love it.
I don't know the purpose for it, but I love it. But let's go into game here.
Right,
I'm using the shader model 2.0 version here of the graphics, so no super fancy. Let's start at the beginning here.
Actually, that's an important point to mention, is that this was during the years of the PC when we were still transitioning away from fixed function cards. And pixel shaders were becoming the norm, but games still had to support older style graphics cards.
Oh my gosh, yes! This supports shader model 1.1,
Halo was the same,
and then 3.0. Oh yeah,
except for it didn't support 3.0.
So right now, because I don't want to delete my save file, we're going to kind of move past the initial opening cutscene, which is actually kind of boring anyways. But this is me just playing right now. Oh my gosh, the controls are a little bit unused to it. It started off as like southpaw controls or something like that, and I had to change them. But you kind of start this game off right outside the Butcher Bay Correctional Facility in what I'm going to call a dream sequence, essentially, where you kind of move up here and you can talk to Johns.
That's right.
Talk to him. Like, what is the... I'm just trying to remember the... Oh, see, like... Wait a minute. Uh-oh, Alex, what did you do?
I kind of appreciate that that's actually possible, though. I mean, it's a quick game over sequence, but the game is like, well, if you want to do it.
Okay, escape from Butcher Bay. Let's go to my journal. I think I'm supposed to talk to Johns. Talk to Johns. Yeah. Okay, so I'm just not used to using a controller here. The reason why I am using a controller, I'm going to show some footage here in the background, is because if you use if you use a mouse and keyboard in this game, it works fine. But if you have a mouse, even on the Windows XP version of this game, and it's set to above 125 hertz, like normal polling that you'd see for modern mice ever since, I don't know, like 1998, you're going to have this weird skipping behavior when you move the camera around, as you can see here. And as I was playing the game earlier, the camera just skips all over the place. You like teleport across the entire game scene. It feels completely terrible to play. You can turn down the mouse input polling to like 60 or 30 hertz, and it helps fix this issue a little bit, not completely. But then the mouse just and it feels terrible. It's all jittery and slow. The only way to really fix this is to just kind of hook up a controller, which works really surprisingly well. But that's how I'm playing the game today. I don't usually play an FPS game like with a controller.
That's right. But... Now, before you move, though, I'm just sitting here staring at the screen, and the shadows are slightly interesting in this scene. How
they're so cool.
But also, like, where is there a light source behind you?
I think there's the moon or something. No, there isn't.
Because the shadows casting in that direction are extremely dark.
Yeah, right.
Which would suggest a strong light source, and then everything else is coming from the prison itself, and it's slightly strange. But this was still very early for kind of real time shadows in this way.
I'm gonna have to walk up and press E because I actually don't know what my use button is on the controller just now. Let's talk to Johns here.
Don't fucking move.
Yeah, this is the. There's some. Let Johns know he should cool down.
I'm thinking I'm gonna change my name to Johns.
Yeah, this, as you can see, our ever awesome Vin Diesel here picking up the main character role. This game has a pretty cool development history, which we'll talk about in a second. I'm gonna go kill Johns if I can. Okay, so what you're supposed to do here is kill Johns and then escape through this little hatch. This is going to end up being a dream sequence. This is not actually what happens to Mr. Riddick here. I guess, what is my jump button? Unless, I guess my, whatever. Jeez, I'm gonna have to really quickly use the mouse and keyboard here, even though I don't want to.
There has to be a mouse or a button assigned to that.
Here, let me just do a little quick. I'm gonna pause the
Although,
game
Alex, I guess this is that time in PC gaming when things like controllers were still not standardized.
Yeah, this is very true.
And you couldn't really rely on it, so...
What on earth is button 3? I probably would have...
Now you just changed...
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know what I just changed. So A is gone now, or from whatever it was. But A is a jump. That's pretty typical. Okay, so I think... Oh, wait.
Already, though, we're seeing full body awareness.
Yeah, there's a lot of really cool stuff in this game. This game has kind of like Fear and a couple other games around this time period, or even, Jurassic Park Trespasser. Full body awareness. Your character model is your third-person character model, which is important in this game because you're playing Vin Diesel or Riddick from the Pitch Black movie and also Chronicles of Riddick. And I kind of want to talk... I want to change the controls again so I can actually have a use button. But
good idea.
I kind of want to talk about this game's development. We're playing the PC version here, of course, because this 2005 PC with its 6800 GT here and its X2 3800 Plus from AMD, X2 version of that one. This is actually not the version of the game that came out first. The first version of the game that came out is on the Xbox, the original Xbox.
That's right.
And that's actually how I played the game first. And I think you have a lot of memories of that game, John, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, that's also where I played it first. And so obviously Starbreeze, before that, they already had a history on Xbox. They had released the game Enclave, which also got a PC version, which is sort of a third-person hack-and-slash title. But then they worked with the studio, I guess it was Tygon, if I recall.
Yeah, that's Vin Diesel studio.
Exactly. So somehow they formed a business relationship with Vin Diesel studio to work on this game. And this was around the time, I guess, when they were working on the new film.
Yeah.
So
Chronicles of Riddick. This is the first. I don't know what the name of the film is. Is it just the Chronicles of Riddick? I'm not sure.
It might be. And then there was obviously, there was the prequel before that, like Pitch Black, if I recall, which was interesting. That's where the Riddick character was introduced. But so the thing about the Xbox version that I always found fascinating is that, as far as I know, it's possibly the first game to use dynamic resolution scaling.
I think you're honestly right, because I don't remember any game before that, and it would make a bit of sense that it's like this transitional period between the last gen and the current gen, because this is like at the very end of the Xbox,
That's
the original
right.
Xboxes.
And this was during the period when developers were sort of moving towards obviously shader-based hardware with a lot of like normal maps everywhere, and you were doing real-time shadows from objects, and where all the light sources are actually like real lights, I guess, placed in the world. So it was.
I love this era.
It was a move in a very different direction, but it was kind of early for it. So there was still a lot of limitations that you had to deal with to get to this point. And on Xbox, to keep the frame rate up, a problem that Enclave had, they seemed to have designed this sort of scaling system where the resolution of the game would change based on the load. And when the output resolution is 480p and it drops under that, it's pretty chunky. And I remember at the time not fully understanding what was going on, but it would just appear somewhat more pixelated over time depending on what was happening. And it was like, why is it doing that? It's strange. But now we know, and it's very clever because this really was like extremely impressive for the time.
Yeah, it is. I mean, here, I'm playing the game at 1280 by 720, and I hope you're noticing that it is running at 60 FPS. This is pretty cool, actually. I don't know. I mean, I played this game originally on an X800 XT after I got that PC for Half-Life 2, essentially. The game, the PC I also played Doom 3 on, and this ran surprisingly well, probably on that as well, too. The thing is, I'm not using the soft shadows option, which this card is
heavy.
capable of doing, but I'll show you some footage here. It just dips the frame rate like crazy at 720p, at least in this game. It's essentially rendering the shadows twice, as far as I understand, and applying like a blur to them, and kind of rendering one over the other. I think it's just destroying the GPU and CPU. And another thing that I have on here is I turned the model quality to high from dynamic, as you can see in these shots here, where I'm imagining the Xbox version might have used the dynamic option, where it pulls in the model LODs a lot closer to the screen, so character models kind of really, I would say in the middle to intermediary distance are like lower quality LODs. And the reason why they would want to do that in a game like this, even though it has, I would say in comparison to something like Doom 3, a bit more sparse environments, is because these stencil shadows, the quality, the amount of polygons in the model casting stencil shadows makes them a lot more expensive. It's one of the kind of things about that technology. I'm going to proceed a bit forward here, but this game chooses to do some interesting things. Like it has self shadows on character models, which you can see some of these screens here that I'm showing of the game's character models. And that's interesting because stencil shadows are pretty awesome at self-shadowing.
Yeah.
But at this time when you have these low poly models, it's a little awkward looking at times. Though, how do I tuck my body here? Can you tuck your body? Am I thinking of a different game altogether?
Different forms of stenciling for shadows was a very common thing during this era, and even like you could do this even on like PlayStation 2. Like that's how Silent Hill 2 kind of worked. It used a similar concept, but from a single light source. Mm-hmm. And the way they achieved soft shadows in that was also where they would essentially render that out to a separate buffer and then apply like a depth of field blur to it and then reintegrate it into the scene. Something like that, basically. So that the end result is something that looks soft. Because, yeah, like actual soft shadows, not easy to pull off during this era. So required a lot of fun tricks.
The fun tricks, like in this game, the ones you can get look amazing. I think this game does soft shadows really well. They're just really expensive. But I think this is where I find my first health machine or whatever it's called. Oh, here it is. I'm not paying too much attention. But I actually really like this game's gameplay in general. It's kind of informed by Thief a little bit. I guess it's got some Half-Life in there with how kind of cinematic the storytelling is, and you kind of start off the intro mission in that way. But the first-person shooting elements are less interesting than I would say the stealth elements, which is where this game shines. I shine with Riddick here, but it's like when you go stealth, you can see whether or not you're in stealth or like invisible to the enemy based upon the kind of like heightened blue color post-processing that happens when you get out of shadow. If you can see that a bit, really helps you in a kind of diegetic way in the game world itself through your character lens, see that you're still within stealth. And another really cool thing was first-person combating. Oh my gosh.
Whoa.
Like, I love this. That
looks great.
That looks awesome still to this day. Another really cool diegetic thing is I want to pick this shotgun up. Is the shotguns, like the HUD here of the shotgun itself is on the weapon model. So I don't actually have any ammo, interestingly, which kind of sucks. I should have ammo.
You know, this reminds me something I really like these games, and Thief as well was one of the pioneering games that did this sort of like stealth using like a visual indicator, and it became very easy to like understand how much in stealth you were, and I feel like that goes a long way towards reducing frustration.
Oh,
because
completely.
For the player needs to understand the state of the AI to really enjoy it, because you don't have the awareness you would actually have in real life to understand the position of people, and I think that kind of awareness is central to making stealth play enjoyable. The AI also needs to be a little bit stupid, if you will. Like if you have a stealth game with AI that's overly like responsive or intelligent, it's not fun. And am
I not supposed to go through there?
Usually there's like, if you have to crawl on something, there's usually like a prompt to do so.
Yeah, I think I may be actually wait, it may just be wait a minute. I should have hit F1 earlier when it was telling me to help me. I picked up the smokes. I've got
They offered you a helping hand and you turned it down, Alex.
I thought I was such a pro. I mean, I did beat this section quite a while back. No, whatever.
You probably, yep. I mean, really, it's probably just look up at it and press a button.
There's another easy thing. that I could do here. I could also just skip ahead to later in the game after after this section, because you eventually get caught again here, and it's a dream sequence. It's not real, and then you're shoved into the prison yard, and you have to complete a number of tasks in the prison yard that I did earlier, where you have to like beat up people, shiv people, get into gang fights, until you finally escape again. And I'm here right now.
I actually think that's a really interesting thing to bring up, is this like the prison yard segment. And there's other moments like that in this game where it's like quiet, story-driven sort of adventure moments where you're not engaged in this typical action. It's more about talking to people, figuring out what to do next. And I appreciate that sort of variety there. Oh,
I actually really, really loved it. I think back then, seeing this game as being a first-person shooter is what I thought it was originally. I remember seeing a game preview in a magazine or something like that at one point, which is why I got interested in this game in the first place and bought it for the original Xbox before I even know that there was a PC version going to be made, if I recall. And
because it was late.
I was just like, and I was like, oh gosh, this is really interesting. It's kind of like Doom 3 style technology. Oh. I'm going to shiv this guy. So the controls are, you change your direction of attack by, here's left attack, here's right attack, and here's forward attack. So I just stabbed this dude in the face a bunch of times.
Good Lord.
Dropped a screwdriver. Oh my god. Oh my god. Look at that. I still can't pick up the assault rifle because it's DNA encoded. And I
love when games use in-world things like this to determine whether you can perform an action.
Yeah,
it's like, this is in fiction. Like, you can't pick up this weapon because it's a fun little touch.
This game has a lot of. So now I finally picked up the assault rifle. The shooting in this game less impressive than the I would say the stealth aspects, which are really fun. It's just because it's kind of like, I don't know, a bit bland. Like you can see here, I'm just going to shoot these dudes, and it doesn't look or feel particularly spectacular.
Did you ever play the sequel, by the way? Assault on Dark Athena?
Yeah, I did. When the last time I played this game and beat it was through that version of, I didn't really want to climb that. Oh, by the way, X is what I had to press earlier. It wasn't jump, so that was the problem. Got it.
I'm a fan of Dark Athena, actually. I think it's a really cool atmospheric experience.
It's a really pretty game.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Their flashlights, by the way, their flashlights here, they look really good. Die. Oh, man. Boom. I can't reload this just yet. Dropped some money. I think you can redeem things with money. I don't mean to climb these boxes when I do. But you were mentioning earlier how this what was my change weapons? Is it that? Yes. Cool. I've got a pistol too. You were mentioning earlier how kind of the PS2 could also do stencil shadows. There was a PS2 version of this game in development that was canceled.
Yeah. See, I would have loved to have seen that because technically speaking, the PS2 can't really support like pixel shaders.
Normal maps.
But you couldn't do normal maps. But that's the thing though, is because of how strange that hardware was, and with the way developers could sort of write crazy custom code for it, I kind of wonder like what they would have come up with.
What would have this looked like on the PS2? I would love to have seen that.
There are games that do things you wouldn't expect on that system, to try to simulate some of the more modern and technically advanced effects. It's very like old school demo scene kind of stuff, which means like I could see Starbreeze getting into that.
Oh, they would totally do it so right.
It would not have been a simple or straight port at all, because there's so much going on here that just you couldn't just do on PlayStation 2. So the hardware fundamentally doesn't support it.
I think it would be field rendered and then just have like diffuse textures. I think that's a bit like what Splinter Cell's PS2 port is a bit like. It's like missing some of like the pixel shader functions.
Absolutely.
Right?
And you can't even do like on PS2. You can't even do like a per pixel dynamic light. It's like per vertex.
Oh, geez. Well, that kind of works for this game again.
Developers found ways around that. So there's various tricks that are possible. But it's really interesting to see. But yeah, this is a game that very clearly took advantage of everything that the Xbox was capable of at the time, which GameCube theoretically could have done something similar, but I think it would have had with compromises, and obviously PS2 would have been very different.
Like, look at this, like, physics. They're shooting through and breaking the...
It's very cool, yeah.
Here, yeah, I just shot that guy in the face. Nice. I do actually think the reloading and hand animations in this game are, like, a lot better than Fear, which is a game that uses a very similar kind of... Oh, geez, he's going to push me off there.
I agree. I mean, I like Fear, but I've always seen praise for, like, the shotgun and stuff, and I can see why, but I actually don't think the models and animation of the weapons,
of those weapons
feels good.
Great.
Like, it doesn't look very nice. It was always very stilted. Doom 3 was kind of the champion in terms of model quality at the time for this sort of game. But Riddick looks pretty good too.
Yeah, like, this looks really good. I just think the environments are, maybe since they built it around the Xbox originally, these environments are very...
simple.
I don't know.
Boxy.
Simple. They're boxy. I mean, it fits the kind of game that this is. I'm going to just drop down. Pick up some of these guys. Like, it is a game that is just, like, very much so binary stealth, and, you know, moving through the environments, picking up weapons. You do get some upgrades over time. You eventually do get the eye shine ability that Riddick is known for. I love these shadows. Wow. Damn, that looks good. And eventually kind of work your way into the like maximum security 2, maximum security 3 version of the prison after you keep getting captured multiple times here.
Yep.
And it's a really cool way to actually increase the game's difficulty level and also make it different. There's just like in-game world reasons why the enemies become harder and why stealth becomes harder, because you're entering, you know, into more maximum security prisons and things like that over time, and it's really great. I'm getting some frame drops here in this area. I'm presuming it's because there's a lot of boxes. It's just a lot of stuff here.
Yeah, no doubt.
Switch to my assault rifle. But I actually have very fond memories of this game, as we were talking about earlier, through the Dark Athena version of it, which is a remake, also made by Starbreeze again. Has in a bunch of things like shadow maps, SSAO, motion blur, depth of field. It does a whole lot. It's actually really good.
Yeah, they really pushed out a lot of that technology that was really sort of taking off at the time, and delivered a really beautiful version of it. And Dark Athena, of course, has a more complex world geometry, and that excellent water at the beginning, where it was like geometric water, sort of simulating waves.
I love this. You can move the bodies around. Speaking of moving bodies around, I think another game that I want to look at after this one, and hopefully maybe one day Ubisoft decides to make a game in this series again, is Splinter Cell, or maybe even something like Chaos Theory, which came out around, like a year after this game, 2005, I believe. That's like another technological powerhouse. Like parallax maps and all this really cool looking stuff, way ahead of its time, I would say, and just really cool looking game. And I think I also want to maybe some point mention the game before that, Pandora. What is it called? Pandora Tomorrow, or
what, the prior Splinter Cell game?
Yeah, what is that one called? I forget.
Pandora Tomorrow, yeah.
Yeah, it is. Because, and it's not like a particularly interesting game in comparison to the first one or Chaos Theory, because...
Well, the multiplayer is. But...
Oh, yeah, well, that's the cool part of it. But I think I made a mistake in my volumetric lighting video. I think that may be the first game to actually have volumetric lighting. I've seen some posts online about it after the fact, and I was like, oh no.
Oh, really? Pandora Tomorrow?
Yeah. It may just be in the PC version. We'll have to... Oh my god, the grenade. Oh gosh, I got absolutely destroyed there. Save me, Jeebus, my goodness. But yeah, I want to go back and take a look at that, because I think it may have some Raymuch volumetrics in it. I'm going to use the...
that would be interesting.
That would be really cool. But yeah, this is kind of awesome. I do recommend it's a little sad that this version of the game is a little bit buggy with the input today, because I still think this original 2004 version of this it's pretty incredible that it's actually running like this 60 FPS primarily on this GPU that came out at the time. Obviously, Doom 3 was more like 1024 by 768 with drops on this GPU. So
yeah,
quite a difference.
Doom 3 is a little heavier for sure.
Yeah. Here I am not stealthing at all.
Yeah, somehow though, so these boxy environments are interesting. They are fairly simple, but over time I've actually come to appreciate somewhat simplified world geometry.
Mm-hmm.
In that, and I've talked about this before, but this idea of like you go back and play like a Quake game or anything like this, and usually with these older games, you can walk into a room and immediately kind of see, okay, well, there's a door here, there's a place I can go here, and it's very clear what you can do.
Oh, Jesus.
And it's very satisfying somehow. But I feel like a lot of modern games are actually, not only are they more limited in where you can go, actually determining where you can go and what you can do is more difficult because there's so much visual noise in the scene. And somehow I find that it's less satisfying. So, it's weird.
I agree. This is a very readable environment, even though it's, pitch black in some areas and less pitch black in others. I kind of want to say that the adherence to real-time lighting in a game like Doom 3 or this also makes it just less noisy in general because there's less gray tones in the environment. As a result, Absolutely. It's very contrasty. So things that are supposed to light up are very obvious. Oh my gosh, I'm not playing this well. I'm pretty sure here there's like I thought there was a mech that comes out in this section. Maybe I'm thinking of the demo for this game. Oh wait. No, there it is. Oh my gosh.
You're right.
I think if I manage to survive the mech here, we should give this an end. But this scene here, if you've been paying attention earlier, the frame rate was kind of going all over the place. It's just any of these scenes that have more boxes and a bit more AI, probably getting GPU limited at 1280 by 720 here. It's not exactly easy. I'm pretty sure I'm supposed to walk around the backside of him. Oh my gosh, don't die. Don't die, Alex. You got this. He's pretty aggressive.
That's what he's there for.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Let's do this. Let's grab out the shotgun. Probably. Okay.
The shotty.
I love the diegetic HUD on this thing, though. It's beautiful. I'm doing that age-old technique of circle strafing the boss and shooting him from behind. The fact that this is working is incredible. Oh, look at that animation. That was awesome.
Wow. Oh, Lod Pop.
Yeah. But John, I think I had a great time talking to you about Chronicles of Riddick, a really impressive technological showcase for the year.
Sure,
amazing character models, cool shadows, really cool PC version, excluding this kind of bug with the input. But thanks a lot for talking to me, John.
Of course.
Yeah, and if you did enjoy this video of me looking back on this 2005 PC and want to see more like it, well, there's a couple more videos like this on the channel. And of course, hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. If you're already a subscriber, then consider hitting that little bell in the corner to be informed as soon as Digital Foundry posts a video. If you want to talk to John or myself about Chronicles of Riddick, well, follow us on Twitter. And as always, this is John and Alex bidding you farewell und...
Well, whatever you normally say.
Yeah. Auf Wiedersehen.